Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Healing Our After Hours. I'm Shauna Ropes with Creating Space Coastal. And in this video, we're going to be talking about finding your core values and how to go about doing that. I'm going to give you some resources and some ways to go about that. And then also we're going to create our own moral compass out of a mandala. So we're going to do a mandala value compass. So if you'd like to see how, stay tuned. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you find this content helpful. Let's get started. So the topic for tonight, we're going to do a moral compass, or in other words, a compass, because a compass is a tool used to guide us. Now, we also use a compass to make mandalas, but this is the compass I'm talking about right here, the compass that helps you find direction. And when we're navigating life, we have an internal guidance system that drives our decisions, our actions, our thoughts, and everything, what we do in life. And so this is driven a lot by our core values. And sometimes it's driven by other influences that maybe are other people's values that we're influenced by. And so it's always good to kind of check in and find out if you are aligning your actions, if you're aligning the energy, the resources that you put into navigating life with your core values. And so when I said we're doing a moral compass, it's basically a compass that we're going to create a compass. It's going to be a cool art design. We're also going to try to sort out what our core values are, if you're interested in that part of it. And the journal prompt was, if you came across a genie and they offered you 3 wishes, what would they be and why? And then you keep asking why until you get to the core of why you created that wish, that particular wish. And the reason that I had suggested that exercise is because if you only had 3 wishes, you could do anything, you're probably going to choose something that's going to align with one of your core values. And so I wanted you guys to dive deep a little bit into what would I want and why. A lot of people start off with money, but money is just a resource that gets us to something else, some other need, that aligns with our core values. So if you start with just saying money, but then you go, why? Oh, so I can blah, 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 blah. Then you start getting to the core of what it is, what are the things that these resources purchase. Now, when you choose to put your resources towards one thing, when you make a decision towards one thing, you're always making a decision against something else. If you have $20 and you want this purse, but you also want $20 worth of groceries, you have to choose not to get the purse in order to spend the $20 on the groceries. You can't have both. So whenever you're making a decision in one direction, you're always going to be making a decision against other things. So you're kind of showing what is important to you by where you put your resources, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's energy, whatever it is, that's going to help guide you as to what is important to you. Now, I really liked this website. I was going to try to, create a guide to help figure out values, but there's many out there that are already created. So I don't like reinventing the wheel, but I thought that this was a really good resource. And ironically, before I even found this, I had already decided we were going to do a compass. And the fact that they show a compass was a great segue. So the ultimate list of core values and how to find yours. Now, this does say that they have a list that's very comprehensive of 400 values, and that's overwhelming, but the link to it is broken. And at least it was for me. I tried to get to the link, and maybe I hit the wrong thing, but I wasn't able to get there. But they do show 100, and they talk you through, what are core values. I'm not going to go through all of this because I want to save time for the art part of the project, but I do encourage you to check this out. They have some questions that you can do to fine tune to get to what are your core values. And I'm going to show you what I did and how I found mine. But I looked through this. It has some good questions. It talks about, identifying them, and then it shows a list of values, and then it says to prioritize them. So I'm going to show you the process of what I did. Now, this is the list. It even has a little description of what that value means and how they're using it. So check out that website. It's a good start. And I think 400 to sift through is overwhelming. So I think 100 is a good start. And I think it's enough to help you get going, and then you'll develop the ones you need to add to it as you go along, because a lot of them are synonyms, to be honest. So let me show you the process that I did using that resource. So I actually took that 100 list that they had there, and I put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and I reviewed the description that they had. And then I moved them all over to another screen, and then I consolidated them down. I put them in categories that made sense for me. Now, this might be different for you. For example, each of these words was one on the list, and all I did was put them into buckets. So accountability, I added honesty, dependability, integrity, loyalty, openness, sincerity, trust, and virtue in that bucket, because those all seemed related to me. And they might not to you. It really depends on how you interpret them. And you can use their interpretations, their descriptions, or you can use your own. But I tried to get them down to 16 buckets, because I thought, okay, the most I could add to a compass probably, would be the most I would want to is 16. And I want to narrow it down. I want to get to my core. So I decided to try to limit my buckets to 16. I was able to do that. And then from there, I highlighted, or actually I bolded the words in that list, and list meaning these ones along each of these rows. And then sometimes I added my own word, like instead of beauty, cleanliness, and health, I changed it to wellness, because I think that encompasses all of that. And so I just, and I did that here too, playfulness. Now those might have been on the 400 list, but in the 100 list, this is what I had to choose from. And I could, think deeper about it and maybe come up with other ones, but this was a really good starting place. It got me thinking about how these are related and what I do in my life, and am I following these values that I say that I have. Now, integrity is about doing actions that, in fact, let me read that one, because I really liked that definition of how they say it. Okay, integrity is when your actions and words are in congruence with your beliefs. So this is exactly what we're doing here, is we're trying to say, okay, am I doing in my life what aligns with my belief system, my core? And oftentimes, we hear shame, we hear guilt. Shame is about when we don't meet others' expectations, when we feel like we're going to be judged. But guilt is about when we're not following our own compass, our own moral code, if you will. So that's kind of an important, which is why I'm doing this in the first place, is because that is one of my values. So anyway, I just bolded those. I put them in a top 16, and then from there I narrowed it down to my top 8, trying to make it balanced, which balance is one of mine. And I don't want to influence what you choose or how you do it. I just want to show you my process, and I can post this. I can post these as PDFs if you want a guide. And then I moved it to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. I just moved it into a different list. So now I have each of these main buckets or categories, and then I have my top 16 that I chose, all of those bolded ones, and then I have my top 8. So that's basically my process. If you guys want to dive deeper, I just wanted to give you guys a starting point. And like I said, I will make a PDF of these if those would be helpful to you. I'll put them in my free resources on my website in the next few days. I was looking at compasses just to get inspired, and I found this cool antique compass, and I thought, look at that. That's basically like a mandala in there. So this is my inspiration, even though I'm not going to try to make it match this, but it's just giving me a starting point to think about as I create my mandala. So you should see my workspace. I'm going to be working in my journal, my mixed media Canson, and this is the 5.5 by 8.5, 98-pound mixed media paper. And I'm trying to keep everything in this, but I have to say, I have mixed feelings about the spiral and the size. Sometimes I want it to be bigger. I thought about doing it across 2 pages, but I think it's too hard with the spiral. So I'm just going to work with what I got. All right. The first thing, if you were here for the introduction to mandalas, the first thing I'm going to do is decide where my center point is. I want to get as close as I can. Here, I can come at a little bit of an angle. You guys can see what I'm doing and my hand's not constantly blocking. I don't know if that's going to work. But... all right, so you figure out your center point of where you're going to be, and then using your, actually you can start with this. I'll do it this way. No, actually I'm going to start with my compass, sorry. I mean my protractor. So you can use either a half protractor like this, and you just line up the crosshairs, or you can use a round protractor. It doesn't matter. Either one works. So I got my point there. I'm just lining up my crosshairs with that point. And now I'm just going to mark where my degrees are. And for this, I know I want at least, you know, the north, south, east, west, right? But then I also want, because I want it to be 8 pieces at least, but I think I want it more than that. So I'm going to want it half of this. So I want it to be at 0. Let me just get my, okay, so I have my 0 and my 90. And then I want it to be half of that, which is 45 degrees, right? 45, which is half of between 0 and 90. And then I want half between those two, which is a little trickier. So this is 45 degrees. So half of that is not an even number, right? It's going to be 22 and a half. So I go to 20, and then each of these tick marks is a degree. And then I want it somewhere between these 2 tick marks. So it's a little bit trickier. 22 and a half. So it's roughly right there. And then I'm going to go to 27, or I'm sorry, 40, 50, 60, 7 and a half. So there's a little bit of math involved if you're trying to get it to be, you know, at certain points. And then I want to do it on the other side as well. So I'm going to go to, I'm going to do 20, 10, 20, 2 and a half. I only need 2 points to make a line. So I'm going to just make a line all the way through those 2 points and all the way through the other side too. So I have my, so I'll make sure that I have enough for the full circle and go all the way around and do that. And very lightly, because these are the marks that we're going to be erasing at some point. So don't push too hard with your pencil. I liked Leslie, if you were here last time, Leslie talked about using a thin leaded mechanical pencil, which, because she said, you know, it's harder, if you go too hard, you'll break the lead. So it keeps you from pressing too hard. And I thought that was a great idea. And also you don't have to sharpen your lead so frequently. You get a nice, really fine point and more precision that way too. So now I have all of my cross sections. You can start with the just one line and then figure out where you want your circles if you want them at specific points. I don't really have a particular point system in mind. In other words, what I'm saying is if I wanted the rungs of the circles to be exactly 1 centimeter each ring, then I could mark along this line here, I'll just show you an example. I won't do them evenly, but I'll just show you so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's say I wanted these to be the circles that I'm going to be creating at certain points. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to make one here. One little one. Okay, so I just made specific marks of where I want my rings to be. And now when I'm making them, now what I'm going to do, just because I don't want this to poke through to my other side, I'm just going to put something underneath just to protect the other paper, because this isn't that thick paper, and I am going to be using the point through the center, so it does poke through. And I'm going to just put that right in the center, and I do want it to poke, I do want it to at least indent it, because that way if I do move the compass, I can find my spot again. So I do want it to dig in there a little bit. I just want to be careful not to press it too hard so that it goes through several layers. All right, so then I just open this up until my point of the lead matches up with the little hash marks that I made. And then I'm trying to keep my hand. Now you can see it's really dug in there, and it even made a hole in this stack of papers, but it didn't get all the way through to my next page, which is what I was trying to avoid. Okay, now I have my guidelines, my basic guidelines. If I wanted to, I could go in with pencil to create some other lines if I want to make sure that I like what it is before I actually use marker. And since I have a design in my, I'm actually going to create a compass and I want it to look like a compass, it's a little bit more intentional of what I'm trying to create. So I might use a pencil for some of the main lines that I want to make. I want to keep this is going to be where all of my little points go or connect with the center part. So I'm going to keep that there, but I'm going to create my points. And I'm going to use a ruler for that in this particular case. How far do I think I want to go to here. And yeah, I'm going to go to the outer rung to this line. So where each of these, so you're going to skip, I'm going to skip one, the center one. So I'm going to go from this point to this point. And the same on the other side. I'm going to skip that and do the next point because I want it to be 8 points.
You just don't want
point to that point. Yeah, I like that. That feels right. Okay, I think I got my main compass points there. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw those in with my marker. thrilled about these little arcs because I've got some inconsistencies. I might see if I'm going to try it, see if I can like them better by doing some things to them. So we'll see. May be better or not? I like it. Little ticks represent all the other values that are still in there. They just didn't rise to the top. And our values can change over time too. So it's important to just reevaluate. Sometimes, we're in a time of our life where maybe we're feeling insecure about, our living situation. So stability might really be a theme that rises to the top for values, because like I'm not feeling stable, life's not feeling stable, so I really crave stability. That's feeling really important right now. Or maybe early in a career, you might be thinking about trying to build your life, and wealth is really important because you have a lot of goals that you want for your family, So these things can change. I mean, I think we do have some core values that tend to follow us throughout our lifetime. Once you no longer need the guidelines, if you feel like you've gotten the main areas you want, and you can erase them. Like I could have erased them before I even did some of my lines, but definitely erase them before you do. If you're going to do any pencil shading or anything like that, you would want to do the erasing. You can see my lettering's not perfect, but none of it is, and that's okay. It's about my values, and my values include flexibility. So letting myself create imperfection and still finding beauty in that. So, all right, there's my moral compass. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you find this content helpful. And as always, happy creating.